Hello, welcome to the conversation on News Central Television. This is the show where we bring you regular updates and analysis of all the biggest political stories on the continent. I'm Gbenga, Aborowa.
And I am Rita, Omodia. On the program today, we will be focusing on the effect of the Russia-Ukraine crisis on Africa, as many are stranded at the border. Also, we will look at Nigeria's constitutional amendment as Senate makes U-turn on diaspora voting and independence candidacy.
Now let's begin with the Russia-Ukrainian war, which has seen many of its citizens flee abroad. But many African immigrants, in Ukraine are reportedly being barred from leaving. Videos posted on social media shows distressed Africans being barred from entering trains, which are currently one of the only safe methods of transportation out of Ukraine.
The African Union and some leaders of African countries expressed dissatisfaction over reports of alleged racist and unfair treatment of their citizens at border crossings. The Pan-African body said all people have the right to cross international borders during conflict and as such should enjoy the same rights to cross to safety from the conflict in Ukraine, notwithstanding their nationality or racial identity. Joining us live on the conversation to discuss this is Dr. Hussaini Umar, Chairman, Nigeria Diaspora Association in Hungary, and Nwafor Nnemeka, a cloud engineer and student. He joins in from Kharkiv, Ukraine. Gentlemen, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, maybe you could not hear me very well, or I can't hear you very well because I'm still on the way.
Okay.
I'm just coming from the Ukrainian border with Hungary. As you can see, we have some Nigerians that we brought with us from the border, and we are on our way to the border town called Debrecen, where we try to provide them with shelter, and then we provide the next logistics. Try to arrange the next way forward. So for now, this is the situation.
Thank you very much, Dr. Umar. I would like to also ask you, we would like to talk to some of the students at some point during the conversation about their experience and what they've been through. If you'd be kind enough to permit us to talk to them during the course of the program.
Yeah, right now I'm with them, so I'm getting off the car for you to see them and speak with them.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Umar. We'll appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now, Franklin, can you please give us an update on what the situation is in Kharkiv, where you're currently located?
Right now it's really messed up. Like the Russian troops are kind of everywhere, and there's a lot of shelling, and they are kind of throwing them to the residential buildings. So mostly you just have to stay indoors or in the bunks. And some students, a student from India yesterday was killed during a street fight with the Ukrainian armies. So it's really messed up right now, and everyone is just stuck, and we can't even find how to leave. Yeah.
Well, frankly, we understand the situation that is going on there, but what are some of the reports you've been hearing about the treatment of Africans in Ukraine and Poland?
Yeah, like most folks trying to cross the Polish borders reported about high racism, and some don't have like most documents, and they kind of don't allow them to cross. So most folks are actually trying to go through the Romanian borders or the Hungary borders. But right now, the leave is really not good, and folks are kind of freezing outside, and they complain about like they're being treated harshly.
Thank you very much, Franklin. Dr. Umar, back to you. What's the current situation in Debrecen, where you are, and have the borders been open to African refugees fleeing the conflict in Ukraine?
I would like to hand you over to those people who have crossed already. We are here with them. Some of them can tell you the situation, but my experience here is that we experienced no problem. Even those Nigerians who who have no passport, they are allowed entry. What they did is that they try to document them before giving them a necessary permit to move around. But they have no problem. But there are students here with us. If you want to speak with them, I can give you, they can tell you with their own mouth what's happening.
Yes, please.
All right, we would like that.
Okay, please, somebody speak.
Hey, can you tell us your name and what you've been through throughout this process of crossing the border? And of course, we also had allegations of racist treatment. Is that also what you went through?
Okay, my name is Glory Nali. Well, the whole experience was quite frightening. I mean, imagine you sleeping in the night and then waking up to sounds from the war. So it was quite frightening, and running into the bunkers underground. The whole experience was not something I would want to go through again, obviously not. And also trying to get a train out of okay, I was in Kharkiv.
Yes.
So trying to get a train out of Kharkiv wasn't easy at all. First, they allowed women and kids. Then after that, they stopped allowing blacks. A police guy even like slapped a Nigerian. I don't know if it was Nigerian, but he was black. So we kind of faced like a certain amount of racism. But eventually we were allowed to leave. And the train journey wasn't so pleasant. But we were just glad to leave Kharkiv. And also the journey here to Hungary was quite okay. I mean, it was better than I expected. I expected to see like a huge amount of people. I expected to see, no, I expected to struggle a bit actually. But it was quite smooth and fast, faster than I expected. I left Ukraine this morning and now I'm in Hungary. So I'm really relieved. I'm really pleased to leave Ukraine. I'm happy that I'm safe. So yeah.
Glory, we're happy to hear that you're now out of harm's way. But about the people you left behind in Kharkiv, and have you been able to communicate with your parents and loved ones in Nigeria?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
I said we're glad you're out of harm's way and you're in safety now in Hungary. What about the Nigerians you left behind in Kharkiv? Did you leave quite a number of Nigerians in Kharkiv? And how about your parents and loved ones in Nigeria?
The number of, sorry, I didn't get you. It's quite noisy.
Okay.
Can you hear us
Give me
now?
a minute, give me a minute.
Okay, Franklin, back to you. If you're still with us, we have looked at the response from the Nigerian government, and so far they talked about evacuating most people. And we do understand that the situation is quite complex. And one of the criticisms is that the invasion didn't come out of the blue, and the government should have taken steps to evacuate its nationals a week ago, like Morocco and Algeria. How would you respond to that? Do you feel the government of Nigeria has been too slow?
Yeah. They're actually trying. Like most folks actually got on the flight from Slovakia and from Hungary, but I have some friends who are currently in Romania and they haven't gotten any flight yet. They're just tagging around and waiting for the flight to come. So I think it's kind of very, very, very slow, and like people they don't even care. They just let folks around to just struggle for themselves. Like, and some people crossing are actually being helped by Ukrainians. You know, Ukraine helped them to get to the borders. So I think like Nigerian government didn't really do anything to help the people who are in Kharkiv. Like we are still stuck in Kharkiv, and there's no one. The only contact I have is just from churches from Lviv who are trying to get me and my friends over to the borders. So I think like no help at all. We just stuck here.
And that brings me to this question. We're really concerned about your personal safety. Reports yesterday said, and you also corroborated that report about the presence of Russian troops in Kharkiv. What are you doing? And have you sent out signals and help to get you out of Kharkiv into relative safety?
Yes. We right now it's kind of dangerous to go because almost the bridges are kind of gone, and due to the fact I'm kind of miles away from, I'm kind of in the Kharkiv region, so it's not really safe for me to try to go. But we're just hoping and praying that when things go down, we can actually find a way to get out of the region.
Okay.
So it's not safe to go out actually. No.
For Franklin, government officials from Ukraine and Poland have said all refugees are welcomed, and in that border officials were working through hundreds of thousands of barricades and cases. Has the situation on the ground improved for Africans? Do you have any update on that?
Yes, I have an update. Like a lot of my friends, a lot of my, because I was part of a group called Value Capacity. So it's being handled by Ukrainians. So their churches, they help evacuate people from Kharkiv to Lviv, where they can board train to go to Uzhgorod or Vinnytsia and some other cities where they can actually cross to Slovakia or Hungary. And this is being handled by the Ukrainians. So it's really improving, and the Ukrainians are really helping. Most of them are working as volunteers to just help international students to leave the country.
Okay, thank you very much, Franklin. Now, let's get back to Glory in Hungary. She's just crossed the border from Ukraine to Hungary just a few minutes ago. Glory, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, Glory, you said you were in Kharkiv. That was where your school is located. As at the time you left Kharkiv, what's the situation like? And do you know the number of Nigerian international students and Africans that might still be left in Kharkiv?
Okay. Well, as of the time I left, a lot of Nigerians, especially from my school, had already gone. So I was like among the last few Nigerians to leave. And before I left, the Russians had already invaded a particular part of Kharkiv. Like from my hostel, I heard them, I could hear some gunshots and blasts. I can't actually tell what they were, but I could literally hear them. So I think the situation was actually getting more serious. So
And have you been able to communicate with your parents and loved ones in Nigeria since you crossed over to relative safety in Hungary?
Yeah, well, I communicated with them at the train station. I mean, they were really glad that I'm finally safe. But so far, I haven't communicated with them because I'm not settled yet. And I'm still trying to get like network reception.
Okay, Glory,
we're glad you're fine.
We're really glad that you're fine. Do you know of any person injured as a result of the blast, or is any refugee camp for Africans there?
No, I didn't hear of anyone getting injured from the blast, especially like black. I didn't hear of that. And no, there are no refugee camps here in Hungary. The reception was really good, really nice. We offered water and food. Free train tickets to any city here in Hungary. So it was really good. Everything went well. We met a very good Nigerian organization here. So right now they are helping us locate an apartment and better food. So everything has been good. No refugee camps. They've been treating Nigerians and blacks really well here.
We're happy to hear that. Now, could we talk to Dr. Umar? Glory, could you be kind enough to hand the phone over to Dr. Umar? We want to ask him a few questions.
I think they are done.
It's a very serious times there in Ukraine, and we are happy that Africans especially are away from harm.
And we're happy that European countries are taking the initiative, because normally you have a lot of red tape and bureaucracy, COVID test, and visas to process all this
Yeah.
refugees. But because they know the urgency of the situation, they've been able to relax these measures and let people into safety. So that's good. Dr. Umar, do we have you back with us?
Yes, I am here with you.
Okay, Dr. Umar, great work you're doing with the Nigerian community in Hungary and for helping these young Nigerian students settle in and getting them into safety. But a lot of lessons would have been learned from this debacle, because before the war actually started, the United States had moved its staff away from the embassy in Kiev and other cities. So my question to you is this: in times of emergencies like this, how should diplomatic missions and governments respond? What lessons have we learned from this episode?
What I did there was at the point some information that is not shared with other embassies. Now, like the British and the Americans and the Western world did not share a proper information with the other embassies. And the second thing is that they did not know, or they did not anticipate that this crisis will go to this level. They were thinking that Vladimir Putin is only raising shoulder, but he is not going to go to this level. They started with the small sanctions here and there, but it didn't work. And they didn't listen to Vladimir Putin's demand about the Ukraine joining NATO. Hello?
Are you still enough? We can hear you. Dr. Umar, please continue.
Yeah, they did not listen to him. They did not take him seriously because they did not think that he will go to this level. And I think that was the initial problem.
So, Dr. Umar, what is the next process for the students you have with you? Has there been communication with the Nigerian Ministry of External Affairs for onward transfer to Nigeria? What's the latest you're hearing from Nigerian embassy officials in Hungary?
Actually, we're trying to approach them as NIDO. Our organization is called NIDO, Nigerians in Diaspora. Organization. We are complementing the Nigerian embassy, but to some level, we are the people who communicate to them, but they don't communicate back to us. Because even yesterday, because I speak the language, the Hungarian language, I read on the news that there are some caritative organizations that are willing to provide accommodation for those coming from Ukraine, and not only Nigerians, which I had to share with the ambassador. But they don't relate with us. Even now, we are just looking at it, or seeing it from the social media, that Nigerian government is providing a flight for free for Nigerians who want to return, which the flight will start tomorrow. And they are not communicating with us. We are the people who are closer to the to the Nigerians, not the embassy. Embassy, to some level, they stay at the official level. But for us, we go in, we talk to them. As even right now, as we are coming from the Ukrainian border, we didn't say Nigerian embassy officials. And sometimes the parents will call us crying because they don't hear anything about their children. But they said they could not get Nigerian embassy. They could not get the consular officer, the consular attaché, or whoever is responsible for it. So this is what I really can't understand.
Dr. Umar, are you normally based in Debrecen or in Budapest?
I live in Budapest, which is about 300 kilometers away from Budapest. I live in Budapest, 300 kilometers away from Debrecen. But
so
I had
before
to go to
this crisis, what has been your relation? Because I mean, there should be some form of communication with you in Budapest, where the Nigerian embassy is located, and of course the diaspora community. How has that been over the years, even before this emergency situation?
Well, it has not been good. I had to even complain that to the Honorable Minister that the relationship is not good, which I find it strange and not wise, because a country where English is not the official language, you need the people there who have been there, established themselves, and what have you, to be able to move forward. Because without those people, I have lived in this country for about 32 years. Without this, and I'm a law graduate, and without those people, contribution of these people, you could hardly achieve anything.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Dr. Umar, for this update.
You're doing a great job, and best wishes with you and the Nigerian students. And we're glad they're back in safety.
Thank
in
you
Hungary.
very much.
We'll definitely keep in
me.
touch and monitor the progress. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
And Franklin, thank you very much for taking time to talk to us on the conversation. We will keep praying for your safety, and do take care of yourself.
Now, aside from Franklin, Dr. Umar, we still have clips from social media of people, Africans who are still stranded in Ukraine. Let's take a look at this.
Nous sommes allés à la frontière de l'Ukraine et la Pologne. En tout cas, c'est compliqué, surtout pour nous, les étrangers, de passer. Les étrangers africains, nous avons des problèmes pour passer. On privilège, c'est normal qu'on privilège les femmes et les enfants, mais les hommes, nous restons du matin au soir. On passe la nuit sous la fraîcheur, debout. Il n'y a pas mangé, il n'y a pas quoi, on est debout. On a fait plus de 4 jours sans rien manger. Moi, je peux l'affirmer. Les militaires qui sont là et d'autres agents de sécurité, ils vous le disent, vous allez rester ici, vous fuyez la guerre, restez ici, vous allez combattre avec nous. Vous ne partez pas, et surtout vous les Noirs, ce sont des histoires qui se disent, que pas même que non, on peut les cacher. Non. J'ai le numéro de l'ambassadeur qui est en Allemagne. Je l'ai appelé personnellement. Je lui ai dit, je suis ici avec moi 40 Congolais étudiants qui étaient venus étudier ici. Les autres sont en train de venir des autres villes. Voilà la situation que nous rencontrons. On nous refuse la sortie. Qu'est-ce que nous pouvons faire? Il me dit, explique-moi la situation, quel poste. J'ai envoyé le nom de la poste de frontière où on était. Il a dit qu'il allait me contacter et c'était hier à 14h. Jusque ce matin, il n'a plus rappelé.
We dropped here because we had to pick some friends, which they were coming using another train. So when we picked them, we wanted to go to the train. We are stopped outside not to go in. But the other people, like the Ukrainians, they can go in. So that's a big problem. So we are here looking for another means to get to the border. We wanted to go to Hungary.
We're still discussing the situation in Ukraine and, of course, the conflict going on there. Earlier on, we had Franklin and Dr. Umar who gave us updates, and Dr. Umar safely told us that they had finally crossed the Ukraine border and are now in Hungary. And the video clip you saw there, we saw Congolese nationals talking about the treatment from soldiers, telling them to fight the war with them. And we also had other African nationals talking about their experience in the Ukraine crisis. And that's the much we can take on the Ukraine and Russian conflict. We do hope for the safety of all Africans in Ukraine. We'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, we will be discussing situations in Nigeria. Do stay tuned. Many thanks for staying with us. You're still watching The Conversation, and on our first belt, we dealt with the Russian-Ukraine crisis and how Africans are dealing with it, especially those who are stranded and even those that we spoke to who have moved past the border and are now in Ukraine. Now, in this second belt, we'll be looking at the constitution amendment going on in Nigeria. In a bid to amend Nigeria's 1999 constitution, the National Assembly on Tuesday, among other bills, passed a bill that would allow independent candidates contest for elective positions such as presidential, governorship, National Assembly, State House of Assembly, and local government councils elections in the country. Now, out of a total of 94 senators registered to vote, 89 voted in support of the bill, while 5 voted against the bill. The upper chamber also threw out a bill seeking to allow Nigerians in diaspora to vote during elections.
Now, the House of Representatives rejected a bill seeking to reserve special seats for women at the National and State Houses of Assembly, but the House, via a voice vote, adopted a bill seeking for minimum percentage of women in either ministerial commissioner appointment. Members of the Senate and the House of Representatives voted on 68 amendments to the 1999 Constitution. Okay, during the course of the conversation, we will have Ms. Chief Paschal Mbawuike join us to shed more light on this latest development. Interesting.
Imagine one candidate, exactly. Yes. Imagine one candidate coming out to vie for presidential elections. How is that going to pan out exactly in Nigeria?
Yeah, these are some of the technicalities.
The money, funds.
We need, not even that. It's the rate of, I mean, there's no independence candidacy, and we saw what happened in the last elections, how long the ballot paper was. So if you are going to allow for independent candidacy, what criteria would it be? Because 2 million people can come out and say, you know, we want to be president of Nigeria. What would you do about that?
That would be a serious crisis.
So there's still lots of questions to be answered, but a very good day for Nigeria's democracy. We've been talking about, you know, we've had conferences, we've talked about
constitutional
amendments. We've had several town hall meetings. We've had sovereign national conferences, and we've hardly moved the needle. It's just one report after the report.
But right now we're seeing a step forward.
The Nigerian National Assembly
moving forward with it, and I think about out of 68, about 49 were passed. And unfortunately, one of them I'm not so happy with is the one of the women's seat. But I don't want to be biased now. We have our guest with us, Paschal Mbawuike, representative Nigerians in Washington, D.C. It's so good to have you join us on the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me today, the News Central of Lagos. Thank you.
We're happy to have you, Chief Mbawuike.
Thank you, sir. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so you heard the news yesterday about 48 of 69 constitutional amendments were passed, and one of such, before I come to diaspora issues, which I'm sure you're particular about, is the issue of independent candidacy. You're familiar with Nigeria and how political parties run. What would independent candidacy, what impact will it have on the Nigeria's electoral system in your own view? Do you feel it will be sustainable?
Yes, it is. Why not? Because that's what democracy is all about. Democracy is where a situation where people can express their feelings and aspirations. I think people should run independently if they don't like APC or PDP or other political parties. That's what happens here in the United States. People, I guess, should run as an independent candidate. I think that will encourage more participation in the process.
Now, Chief Mbawuike, you're in the diaspora. We do know how much Nigerians in the diaspora and their millions do send back to Nigeria in remittances. These are Nigerian citizens, and even South Africa, for example, does allow for diaspora voting. What do you make about this continuous disenfranchisement of Nigerians in diaspora, despite the size and economic power and their contribution to the country?
Like many Nigerians and friends of Nigeria, I'm disappointed because it's of my view that Nigerians from anywhere in the world should vote. We have embassies across the world, not only Nigerians in the diaspora, also our servicemen and women who are fighting wars around the world, whether they are in Sahel, in the region, should be allowed to vote. Also, let me thank you. I'd like to use the opportunity. Also, we should also think about the question of absentee ballot. People should start voting in Nigeria maybe a week or two before the elections, so that everybody participates. Usually, when a president comes, the governor, for full disclosure, I was born in Imo State, and people say, "Oh, this person is the worst governor, good governor," when they don't participate. So I believe the people of Nigeria should be allowed to participate in the process.
Okay, I know you're a man, but of course, every man is born of a woman. And so far, we've been looking at more women involvement in politics. Now, despite the support of the First Lady and the presence of the Vice President's wife, The bill seeking to reserve special seats for women at the National Assembly was actually declined. What do you take on this? Do you see women being fully represented in the political space of Nigeria?
Thanks, my sister, for this question, because it is very important. I have been discussing for several months now with Honorable Benny La, daughter of my late boss, Chief Solomon La. She has raised this question, and also Honorable Nkiru. I congratulate the First Lady and the Honorable Minister for Women Affairs, Pauline Tarling, whom I know quite well. I believe that women should be given equal opportunity to lead Nigeria. Actually, if I'm to decide, I believe the next president of Nigeria should be a woman, because women tend to handle their affairs in a better way. So I believe, but of course, you know that politics is a game of numbers. So in this case, I encourage a lot of women to participate in the process and seek for elective offices in local government, in state level. Of course, they get a shot at the presidency. If a woman becomes a candidate, that woman has my vote.
Now, Chief, do you support affirmative action, or we should maintain the status quo where, I mean, it's equal ground, and if they go out there and they get elected, that is it? Or do you want a situation where we have affirmative action and a certain percentage of seats are exclusively reserved for women?
Well, I think, you know, in politics it's about competition. So I believe we have a lot of capable women, of course. Everybody knows, including you. I have one, I'm looking at one in my front now, next to you. She should run for president. Why not, if not, right? And,
okay, I'll take your words by it.
So we have Okonji Wala, we have our sister at the United Nations. So there's a lot of women around. We have, of course, the First Lady. What stops her for becoming the next president of Nigeria? No, Miss Pauline Tarling. So there's a lot of capable women. Even my wife, my daughter, my granddaughter, they should run.
I like seeing men supporting women. Okay.
I support you, by
You support me.
In case you want to
Okay,
run.
I'll look at the position I will give you. Thank you so much. But I already have my chief advisor on ground. Okay, so now looking at the strengthening devolution of power, the bill to allow states generate, transmit and distribute electricity in areas covered by the national grid was passed. We know how much of importance electricity is in Nigeria, and I'm sure where you are right now, you have gained the dividends of good electricity. What impact do you think this will have in Nigeria?
First of all, thank you for this important question. That's why I want you to be president. And I am a consultant to power company. I represented Contour Global, the biggest US company in Africa. I represented another company that does emergency power. I think the power should remain in the private hands. It's not a question about the governors. They should go to the private sector where it's going. I mean, it's going to take a lot of time for the power to be stabilized, because it takes a lot of investment. And another problem I see in the power is the question of revenue collection. If you don't collect revenue, of course, the investors won't come. But I believe private power should remain in the private hands.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Now, do you think that with this, there was also an amendment that was made to the Constitution, termination of tenure of elected officials after changing political party? A lot of people say politics in Nigeria is devoid of ideology. That's why we see a lot of cross-carpeting. Are you in support of this amendment that, look, if you are elected on the platform of a party and you cross carpet, you decamp to another party, you will lose your appointment or your seat? What do you make of this?
Yes, I believe so. I mean, of course, again, both of you are quite capable people. If I decide to run for office, that's a lot of pressure for me to join the race. I will hire two of you to run my campaign. But that's a talk for another day. I believe people who are elected on a platform, say PDP, should remain. If they decamp, they should lose the seat. Yes, I believe so. That way, because politics is a call of service. It's not about personal interest. It's a call to serve our dear country, Nigeria. And I believe if you decamp from APC to PDP to ABGA or to SDP, you should lose the seat. I believe so, yes. That's my position.
You're well versed with the politics going on in Nigeria, and one of the issues is the Nigerian Council of State. Now, we know that it's an organ of Nigerian government created to advise the executive on policy making. Now, with this bill that has been passed now, in which former heads of the National Assembly can be a part of the Nigerian Council of State, do you think this is a welcome development in Nigeria?
Yes, I believe so, because I believe that two heads are better than one, of course, two heads. It should be very inclusive of everybody, even the civic society. It's a body that will advise the president, the people in elected office for the betterment of Nigeria. I'll give you just an example. Poverty and insecurity is a common enemy of Nigeria. So you should bring the best minds. Nigeria is really blessed with talents. We have talented people. Example is both of you there in Lagos. So it should be very inclusive, in my opinion, yes.
Now, just before we begin to wrap things up, what do you make Nigeria in a bid to make this democracy work for the majority of the people? We've had conferences in the past. We've had constitutional amendment programs. There's been millions of naira spent on town hall meetings and consultations. But yesterday, this Ninth National Assembly, a lot of people weren't expecting this, voted on 68 amendments of the 1999 Constitution. And they passed quite a number of it. I mean, life-changing issues, for example, things that used to be on the exclusive list and now on the concurrent list. States are allowed to do railway, electricity, which has been a major issue. Do you think this was what we needed as an impetus to make our democracy work for us? And how big were the events of yesterday in the National Assembly?
I think the events of yesterday was, for the National Assembly was quite of a disappointment. But of course, I'm just one voice and a lone voice, but one of many. I like to see Nigeria succeed. Sorry that we don't have enough time to talk about it. I like to engage both of you on a good dialogue. I believe
what more could you have asked for? What areas do you think still need attention?
I think everywhere needs more attention, because you never get enough in politics and in governance. I believe my problem, all of this is about creating jobs, because if you create jobs, that will reduce insecurity. Poverty, as I said earlier on, is a common enemy for anybody, whether you're from North or South or Muslim or Christian, APC, all of that. I was a member of I was at there when PDP was formed. When Abacha died, I advised Solomon La, the first PDP chairman, back in 98, sorry. So I believe the best of Nigeria is yet to come. Let me use this opportunity to please appeal to all Nigerians to support Mr. President. He wants to succeed. He says he doesn't want to fail in office. So I appeal to you, help is on the way. Please support Mr. President. I, for one, using your channel to call for, I like to form Club for Growth, bringing somebody like Aliko Dangote, Tony Lumelu, Jim Ovia, and the rest of others that I couldn't mention because of time, to come on board. Let's stick together and make Nigeria great again.
Now, still talking about the president and, of course, ways to make Nigeria better, because the citizens want a better life for all. Now, looking at the electoral bill that was passed, the electoral amendment bill, a lot of people were waiting on the president to pass this bill. Now, after passing this bill, now that's aside the constitutional amendment, after passing this bill, there was a clause that he said needed to be amended, and which was the disenfranchisement of 7 political office holders from voting or being voted for at conventions or congresses of any political party. Do you have any issue with that?
Well, since he's my president, I'll reserve my comment when I meet him in Abuja. I'm hoping to do that soon. And but there's room for amendments and there's room for dialogues. But I wanted to, again, use this opportunity to ask Nigerians to come and support this, Mr. President. 2023 will come, but we still have a president in office. And insecurity, as I said, is a common enemy. My happiness is to see Nigeria succeed. And I'm making this commitment today in your channel, on your station, that I will never let Nigeria fail, at least from my perspective.
Okay, Chief, 2022, the year we're in right now, is a penultimate year to a general election in Nigeria. And a lot of people have said the political class has weaponized poverty. There are lots of incidents of vote buying. In what ways can millions of Nigerians, what can they do to prevent vote buying and the weaponization of poverty by politicians?
Thank you for this. This is a brilliant question, because what I think is, first and foremost, there has to be election reforms whereby, just like in the United States, you don't bring your own money and there's a cap of how much money you could spend. Let's say you wanted to run for president as a talking point, you're only allowed to spend 10 million naira. Let Nigerians contribute into your campaign. It shows acceptability, not somebody like Tinubu or Atiku because they have money. So it doesn't give room for small people like us. So I believe there has to be election reforms in Nigeria. And I like to call this National Assembly, Night Assembly, to please look into this.
Well, I'm sure Nigerians will have their say and pick the man of their choice during the 2023 elections as expected. Now, I know you're in Washington, D.C., but I'm sure you also know of the situations going on in Russia and Ukraine. On the first part, we discussed about how well the Nigerian government is doing to repatriate and evacuate citizens who are stranded in Ukraine. How would you assess the Nigerian government's response to this? And what are your thoughts for people who are in diaspora in Ukraine, Africans, Nigerians who are stranded and, of course, in harm's way?
Thank you for this important question, my sister. Because of lack of time, let's just do 2 seconds of moment of silence for those people that lost their lives in Ukraine. And may their souls and their political souls rest in peace. The government is doing so much in Nigeria to bring our citizens home. These things are not easy. You can't just go in and bring them back. There has to be some, because of bilateral trade agreements. But I congratulate Mr. President. I congratulate Foreign Minister. I congratulate the Diaspora Commission in Abuja. My sister is doing a wonderful job. I'm very proud of her. And she's also one of the people that should run for president anyway. The government is doing a lot. They've not done much, but I would encourage them to do more, not only engaging ARPs, but hire other foreign airlines, Ethiopian Airlines as an example, to bring our people home, because safety is number one. You have to be alive to talk about other things in life.
Okay, and finally, what are your thoughts and projections for Nigeria as we inch towards the 2023 general elections?
Thank you, my brother. I like to see Nigeria strong and united. By the way, one of the reasons that Russia is fighting Ukraine is to get bigger. They want to be as big as China. So there's been some agitation for people calling for Biafra. I come on this station and say, I'm opposed to it. I want Nigeria strong and united.
All right, thank you so much for your views. You've shared so much about a way to make Nigeria better. And thank you also for joining us on the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, that's it on today's conversation. In the first part of the program, we did talk about African government's response to evacuating its citizens from the conflict zone in Ukraine. We spoke to Dr. Umar in Debrecen in Hungary, and in the second part, we looked at the amendments, constitutional amendments that happened. Yes,
about 49 were passed, and one of them was independent candidacy, which we discussed in the second belt. And of course, one that's also caused a lot of rancor is the fact that there will be no special seats for women in the National Assembly. And it was quite shocking seeing the Vice President's wife, Nwafor, is still there, and yet the bill was not passed. But all we're looking for is the progress of the country, Nigeria, and of course, for all of Africa. That's why we'll call it a wrap on today's edition of The Conversation. Do join us again on Friday. Our thoughts and prayers are with those who are still Africans, who are still stranded in Ukraine. We do hope that you move to safety, just like those who we discussed with earlier on, Dr. Umar. And of course, for Franklin, we do hope for your safety back in Ukraine.
Okay, this is where we drop the anchor on today's show. I'm Gbenga Aborowa.